And that's right, we're back again for Business Express for a Wednesday morning, the 22nd of June, 2022. And joining us for the next 15 minutes, we've got Rotus, the main man for the moment. Good morning, Rotus. How you doing?
Hey, Vic. Good morning to you. Good morning to all our listeners. Great to be with you all again, man.
Thank you very much for joining in. Now, you listening can be part of the show simply by sending messages across to us on 0809 Send tweets to Smooth981 FM, and we're streaming live on YouTube. It's Smooth981 FM Lagos. Rotus, a lot has been happening, quite a lot, and we'll just get into it. What's the gist of this conviction? That's of the Auditor General. I mean, earlier on the show, I had talked about the Auditor General, a staff of the Auditor General being convicted for 14 million naira. What's the gist about this?
Yeah, so the staff was basically convicted for, I think, about 7 years in prison for defrauding job seekers of 14 million naira. So I think it was a Sokoto State High Court that sentenced him to the 7 years in prison. He was essentially promising people jobs at FIRS, NDIC, that's the national. So FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service, National Deposit Insurance, Nigerian Maritime. He was basically just telling people that he would get them jobs in these agencies and essentially collecting money from, 14 million naira, that's a lot of money. And so it just shows that basically, he was collecting a lot of money from a lot of people and promising them jobs in those areas. It looks like the EFCC got on top of it, arrested him, and then I think the guy's just he's 33 years old, civil servant, and it was about if that's correct, if around that range. So that's essentially what the gist of this is.
Well, Rex, as you shared this, I was just smiling because this happens. We hear stories about this here in Lagos, in Abuja as well. Across Nigeria, there are people who are job seekers and they're willing to pay to get some of these jobs. And there are people who are aides to some people in government and they keep doing this thing. What does this say about our job market?
Yeah, it shows that the job market is still it's not providing, it's not supplying, it's a it's low on supply, basically. For people to be so desperate to want to pay money to get into positions, there's just not enough jobs. And so the few jobs that are available, essentially people are trying to use money to be able to get in there. Everybody knows somebody that's finished NYSC or finished from school, university, and is essentially looking for work. We all of us know at least one or two people that have been out of work for a long time, haven't gotten anything. It's a really sad state of affairs, and it's something that leadership that is looking to get into office next year. It's something that they really have to address. How to create more jobs, especially for our youth in this country.
In fact, the unemployment rate in Nigeria rose about 27.1% in the second quarter of last year to about 33% Rotus. And it's a big problem. So people are there. There are a lot of people who want to work, but the jobs are not available really. And so they expect that if someone tells me I can pay for this job, and I will get it with one big organization. I mean, like, look at it, FIRS, for instance, that's in Abuja, for instance. If you get a job with FIRS and the headquarters there in Abuja, there are some people who would even take loans to pay just to get those jobs. And there are scammers all around defrauding people. But what does this say about rent seeking in Nigeria?
Nigeria is a rent-seeking country. Every single thing you try to do, somebody wants to extract money from you. Doesn't matter whether you're parking to go to somewhere. Doesn't matter whether you are trying to complete. Even look at voting. The issue with voter registration and people trying to get their PVCs. I mean, there's even rent-seeking activity there as well. Just think about it. If you are trying to collect something, if you are trying to complete a process, there is always somebody somewhere that will do it for you for a fee. And then if there's another person after them and another person after them, at each stage where you're trying to process, you are essentially going to be paying money for it. It's it's not efficient. It doesn't help matters for the nation, but we are an incredibly heavy rent-seeking country, and it's just a shame, really.
All right, you listening right now can send a message to us on WhatsApp. The number is 0809-444-0981. Share an experience with us. Let us know. Let's take this one in from Benga Komu. Says, a station in my area is selling at 190 naira per liter and people are going in to buy. Okay, Benga, we're not talking about the fuel situation right now, but thank you very much for that update.
Yeah, it's fine though. I mean, it's an update from yesterday.
Yeah.
Ipman said 180. 180, yeah.
Yes.
And so now you're seeing some places sell at 190. So I just want to see what the regulator does. That's interesting.
I even hear in Abuja they're already selling at 200 naira for the filling stations that have the product.
Yeah.
Anyways, but let's get back into this big issue, Rotus, of people defrauding unsuspecting Nigerians, just because they seek jobs, well-paying jobs. Do we acknowledge convictions enough in Nigeria?
I'm not, I saw this and I was like, oh, okay, I don't think we do. I don't know if I have to give the EFCC some props, and give other agencies that are trying to clamp down on corruption and crime. But I think the overwhelming feel is that the law enforcement agencies are not doing enough and they themselves are compromised. And it's always a case, if you tell this to somebody and I say, look, AFCC is working and we're convicting people, they'll always say that it's low-level people that are doing 14 million, 15 million, 10 million. But if it comes to the big, politicians and people in larger, areas, the untouchables, until the untouchables are brought down, that's when people will feel like convictions are working in Nigeria. I don't know. I don't think we're acknowledging them enough.
Apologies, you cannot take calls now. Just send messages on WhatsApp, all right? So we can quickly acknowledge your message, read them out before the end of the show. I see calls coming in, but we cannot take calls at the moment. Rotus, let's talk about corruption. Really, would you say that corruption is on a downward trend in Nigeria?
I don't think so, Vic. That's a tough. I don't. You ask the average Nigerian, they'll tell you no. And that's a tough thing. I think perception, where maybe there are more convictions, from EFCC and other enforcement agencies. But if you were to ask the average Nigerian if corruption is falling, I think they'll say no. And maybe that's not the reality. Maybe if there are more convictions using data, you would say yes. But again, it comes down to the untouchables and the big people and what's going on. Look at the primaries. I mean, the political primaries are basically a bribe fest. Right? It's hard to prove. I mean, EFCC, they went there, they were walking around, but nothing really happened. You saw what happened to the FX rates during the primaries. People were taking dollars to use them for something. So, you look at that and you say, well, not really, no, generally.
Okay, let's also take this message, no name to it. On the job fraud, is it the salary people are so desperate to pay for or the racket they themselves are going to perpetrate? Scammers being scammed. Think. That's what this person says. Rotus, do you agree?
Well, to some extent, I agree. To some extent.
All right. So let's look at this tweet. It's viral. I want to read it and then I ask you this question. Just ask your thoughts on this. So anyone with BVN or NIN should be able to vote without a data capture. What extra data do you need? We keep recapturing and duplicating information that can be shared among agencies. Just provide and validate BVN or NIN, then collect your voter's card. What do you make of this tweet suggesting a BVN or NIN is enough to vote, Rotus?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know
you do?
INEC has to collect its own data, and for security reasons, you don't want the same person voting more than once. But the BVN is secure, the NIN is secure, and the authorities should use that. I mean, but here's the thing, not everybody has a bank account. So you can't use the BVN to exclude other people who are not financially included. But the NIN, you know, all these other variables, you can at least use that for a portion of the population to get them registered. The other side, it will reduce your burden. So if I think I have 35 million BVNs or something like that, maybe 40. So at least that's 40 million on one side that you've taken care of because you have BVN and you can go through the banks and so on and so forth. And then the other population, the rest of them, you can now continue with your other methods. But the whole point of this is that, look, with all the identification metrics that Nigeria has, you should use it to make registering for voting a lot easier. You should. So that's the point I'm taking away from this, is that voting, registering to vote in Nigeria should be a lot easier. David Hundeyin, the journalist, he was tweeting, he said that you shouldn't even forget registering to vote. If you're a citizen of Nigeria and you have a valid ID, you should just vote like that. See, that's that he took it even further. It shouldn't be with this process difficult. You know, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
All right, Rotus, quickly, let's just go back a bit, read some messages, you know, on the job, right? We have Gilbert Musa in First Stack with this message on job wealth creation for our youths in Nigeria. Have we asked ourselves reason our state governors cannot industrialize their respective states to create jobs? In 1958, Enugu had 8,000 coal miners. What happens to the coal mines from 1981 till date? Why is it non-functional? I just want to run through with some of the messages real quickly. Dikbo sends a message, says corruption isn't reducing at all due to poverty and level rising and inefficiencies in the systems, but the awareness is increasing and overwhelming. Bottom line, a hungry man has barely any conscience, okay? Inkabolu comes in. When you have to pay to get a job placement, then I'm sorry, you're kind of dumb. There's a process to everything. And as bad as the system might appear, you got to respect it. I learned these back in school. The school knew those whose admissions were faulty, but the school kept quiet till they were in their finals. And then boom, that's a message from Yinka Bolu. Cisco Delgado says the idea behind National Identity Card was to have all those information embedded in it. And then he's smiling. Okay, Rotus. You want to react to any of the messages?
The messages, as always, they are spot on. Our listeners are the best. They know these issues. So thank you all. Thanks to everybody for their messages. They're spot on. All the messages are spot on.
Okay. It seems Matthew Afolabi is responding to a message that Gilbert Musa sent in earlier. Says Nigeria coal contains a lot of sulfur, making it not usable here. Yinka Bolu comes in again, says, if only we had done the needful by registering on time and not this last minute rush, that we shouldn't be having this conversation right now. Using your data to vote should be the conversation. Okay. I wish we could talk about President Buhari, but Rotus, we have to go. Thank you very much to everyone.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rotus. Let's do this again tomorrow at 6:30. Let's keep the conversation going on Twitter at Smooth91FM. Remember to tag Rotus in. It's at Rotan Court on Twitter, at Victor Pepple as well. All right, thank you very much. At 7:30 this morning, we'll bring you Freshly Pressed. Good morning.
Because on the Nigerian economy, we see the bigger picture.